What is going on, everybody? This is week one of the Shatter the Script podcast. NFL is officially back with our first slated NFL Sunday. And the weather has been great down here in Texas, although might possibly be getting a freaking hurricane down in the Gulf. Other than that, the winds have been calm, and it feels like football season. So we're here, week one, Shatter the Script, season 2, the official kickoff with your host, Jared May. And I'm joined by
Hunter Poole. Hey, Jared, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
What did you do today?
All I did was sit here on this couch and watch football the entire day.
That's a good answer. Sunday, it's football, 7 hours, commercial-free football. You know, we got some food. We were here about 12:05 was when kickoff started. Next thing you know, we have not left the spots since then. You know, we just all day, shout out to the Cowboys. We got our Cowboys jersey.
Yep.
My man D-Law, 2.5 sacks today, forced fumble. Dallas came out dominating. Dak paid this morning as well.
Yep.
Highest paid player, $1 more million than the opposing quarterback, Deshaun Watson. I wonder if that was kind of they did that on purpose. It's kind of weird how it is set up like that. Dominating performance, and we had some other Jaden Daniels, good fantasy game for his first start. Bo Nix struggled. Caleb Williams, he won, but that defense carried. And there's a lot of things we're going to go over, but I'll let Jared lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good initial breakdown. That's probably the biggest news of the day outside of the games was Dak Prescott's contract, which happened this morning at 11 a.m. But, in bigger news, which we're going to get into was, Tyreek Hill getting freaking detained before today's game and then going out there and hitting the celly, which I thought was hilarious and perfectly orchestrated by Tyreek Hill. And we also need to, compare our game breakdowns. We basically had the same ones, but we're going to start with our Shatter the Script segment per usual, and then we'll kind of break down what we saw throughout the weekend from the games, give some predictions for tonight's game, Lions and Rams, and then he'll do his stardom sit-ems, give like a nice little breakdown for everybody to kind of let everybody know where his head was coming from. But yeah, let's go Shatter the Script. A lot of people have said, I guess that there was a committee that voted that Josh Allen was the most overrated football player in the NFL as a quarterback. And, I sent out a tweet and I was like, who in the hell said that? And it was like, I knew that stuff was out there, but I'm like, who in their right mind would say he's an overrated quarterback? Is it the turnover rate percentage? Are we going to go super statistical on the guy? Well, he came out today against, it wasn't the Cardinals team, but he balled out. I mean, I believe it was 4 total touchdowns, vintage leap into the end zone type touchdown from Josh Allen rushing the ball. I just don't get it. I feel like Josh Allen has done plenty, even though he has not won a Super Bowl, to establish himself as, more as an underrated player than overrated.
Yeah, so the people who did the list, we need to get them medically checked. It's kind of absurd that someone like Josh Allen, who in the playoffs is one of the best performers each year he's in the playoffs. He's run into Patrick Mahomes, pretty much every single time. They made a rule change. He leads the team down, but Mahomes brings him downfield in 13 seconds. Josh Allen, I've said this for quite a bit now. If he was in the NFC, he'd for sure have already been to a Super Bowl. And if not, I'm not saying he would win it. Maybe, maybe he sneaks out one. But yeah, there are people saying that, Josh Allen is spectacular. He's one of the best quarterbacks to watch. Super exciting. That his weapons this year it's probably the worst weapons he's had since he's been in the league. That Dalton Kincaid shit really pissed me off. I don't know. Guys, I'll get to it in a bit too. I don't know what the hell was going on with Dalton Kincaid. But yeah, so, Josh Allen, he's the furthest thing from overrated. And like you made a good point, he's probably more underrated than anything. Josh Allen is, one of those things where people don't realize how good he is until you just kind of watch him and you're like, this team probably wins like 2 games without him because he's the definition of Superman. He's our modern day Brett Favre.
Yeah, exactly. I think in terms of, we talked about it a little bit on the Stats and Scars episode of being the most valuable player on your team and what it means to be the MVP of the league. kind of listen to the language of what it actually means to be an MVP. And you take a guy like Josh Allen out at quarterback, and like you said, they're not winning a lot of games. It is completely different because of his superhero ethics out there on the football field. Without them, I mean, Sean McDermott's out of the job. Dalton Kincaid, like Stephon Diggs, isn't getting this type of Hall of Fame numbers that he's getting, and so you have all these. I guess a lot of people give a lot of excuses for certain players in the NFL, and we've mentioned before a couple times that if you move Josh Allen to the NFC, he would have been to a Super Bowl by now. Hypothetically, the road to get to a Super Bowl in the NFC is a lot less challenging because you don't have to go through. I know it's Mahomes, but you have to include Josh Allen in that list too, Joe Burrow in that list, Lamar in that list. That is not an easy one. And then the two youngsters that haven't really gotten much of a chance to get in there is Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. So that's a stacked AFC. And the NFC is growing in terms of quarterbacks a little bit, but now you add a healthy Aaron Rodgers. As Josh Allen is voted as an overrated quarterback, I just think it's ridiculous, and I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that he's even close to that narrative. He is one of the most, if not the most talented quarterback in the league. I always said it's 1A Mahomes, 1B Josh Allen. I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, with the thing about it is too, he's a gunslinger. He does turn over the ball. He's always moving around. He might fumble a little bit, but when you have a rocket in your back pocket, he wants to make every throw because he can make any throw possible. He makes crazy. He can do it on a rope. But yeah, when you got that rocket in your back pocket, you're gonna force some balls more often than not. But that might lose you some games, but at the end of the day, you're gonna win some games because he's gonna make throws that 99% of the world cannot make.
yeah, and I think we should add another portion to the Shatter the Script and just kind of briefly talk about I think just Deshaun Watson. Like I think with the amount of contract that the amount of dollars he was given in that contract, and to have him be only played 12 games in I think 2 or 3 years and only have thrown 14 touchdowns out of those multiple years, and you're one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and then you just go out today without your starting tackles, and he took an absolute beating today. But a lot of people said that he died on that massage bed, and you made that statement earlier, and I think that should be addressed.
Yeah, he has not, he's played 13 games in 3 years, $230 million guaranteed contract. He was running for his life. He couldn't hit anything. Dallas was swarming the ball. They had no run game. And, Deshaun Watson was, funny or not, the most efficient runner on the team today for the Cleveland Browns. And that is because of him having to escape people like D-Law, Osa, Michael Parsons. They were overshowed who big step up that we were missing last year. If he can stay healthy, I think Dallas's defense can be better than what they were last year. Another thing about Deshaun Watson is that he just it's all a mental thing. He made that one good play towards the end where he threw that. I mean, standing in that pocket, and then he knows he's going to get hit, and then absolutely diming it to Amari Cooper, who dropped the ball. It's one of those things where it doesn't show up in the stat sheet.
Yeah.
But that's it takes a lot for somebody to stand in there after getting the shit knocked out of them all day. I guess whatever. The Browns are still going to be a good team. So week one, no too much overreaction. The Cowboys, they have they have an easy game probably next week, and then they got Lamar after. So we'll see what they do by week 3.
Yeah, I think it speaks more to how impressive the Dallas defense was in the first game and there are factors to the game that do count for something, and missing both of your tackles is not an easy thing to go up against. The reason I'm bringing it up as kind of a shadow of the script is because all we heard going into this game was that Dallas had to use their rookie tackle against Myles Garrett, and how are they going to stop him? And then the whole problem of the entire game was Deshaun Watson is just getting lit up in the backfield, taking massive amount of large volume amount of hits, and it just was never talked about. The media attention was all on, can Dallas stop Myles Garrett? And nobody even thought to ask, well, on the other side, Micah Parsons is there. Why did we just hear about these two tackles being out when the game started? There was no coverage on it. So that's like kind of the angle I'm coming from. And you have a multi-million-dollar quarterback that you paid that hasn't given you a lick of anything. And to quote our buddy Blades, Quinn Ewers, you are a Cleveland Brown next year.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, he could definitely, he's already he went to Ohio State, he's familiar with the area, we'll see what they can do. But man, oh man, the Deshaun Watson, man, that I look at everything about value, and when you're getting paid $230 million. Now, if he wasn't getting paid shit, I promise you people wouldn't be like, they wouldn't really care that much. But when you're getting paid $230 million, you're almost forced to play even when this shit, because you're just 10 feet deep in some dog shit. So
yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and then and amongst other big news, Tom Brady his debut in the booth, and I can tell you this from up front and personal that he was a lot better than Colt McCoy. I'll say that. He did seem a little uncomfortable, a little nervous. Seemed like when it was his turn to kind of give a monologue. It was very basic. And it's probably from that roast him episode where all they did was launch F-bombs across at one another. And he's probably like, oh, don't cuss. Because all the media that he's been in outside of that booth has kind of been provocative a little bit. So I think he had to kind of rein. I'm just kind of speaking from semi-personal experience because, of the high school games that I do. But I get on there and I'm like, you have to turn on this professional demeanor and not screw up, because the second that you say something that you're not supposed to, the whole world heard it and you can't get it back. And that, that's a damage that everyone's had to deal with since social media. But I thought that, if I was going to give him a letter grade, I'd give him a B+. And I thought he was pretty standard. Most of the second half, there wasn't a lot happening. So he was kind of an easy day for him. But I'd love to see a game where he truly, truly dives into the analytics. But what I thought his strength was today, one of my favorite things that he talked about was the ability for Mike Zimmer's scheme to affect a quarterback's mindset and kind of slow down that processing after the snap, before the snap is executed. And you're like, I'm going to show this look, but then I'm going to bring pressure from the other side. Well, I'm going to show that same look and then bring the pressure from the look that the pressure looks like it's coming from. And then I'm going to show that look again and then drop everybody back in coverage. And it just keeps the quarterback guessing. I thought that was a great point by Tom Brady. I think over time he'll get a lot more comfortable. But I tell you what, there's one man other than Tom Brady in the booth that just shot right out of the gate and said we all were amazed by his talents, was Tony Romo. I mean, that dude off the jump was like, oh yeah, Tony Romo does it really well. But yeah, what did you think of? I mean, it's not like a big thing, like a huge thing if he's horrible, or like I just thought he was like mediocre. But what did you think of Tom Brady?
Yeah, no,
it glazed him pretty hard.
No, Tom Brady, it's one of those things, where we're not really used to it. What was funny is when he was looking at Kevin Burkhardt, every time he talked, it looked like he wanted to eat him. Like he's just staring straight into his soul. Just, I'm like, it's just not one of those things. He got the biggest, NFL job after just retiring for 1 year. It's not very likely people get that opportunity right away. They have to work their way. But it's Tom Brady. He's very handsome. He's the greatest football player of all time. He'll get better. Just give us some time. I give him like a B. And he's not excited as Tony Romo. And I'm not saying that from a Cowboys fan. I'm saying that from a perspective of I like to have some good commentators. If you guys, Tom Brady compared to those commentators for the Brazil game was, oh my, I said it way before the game too. I was like, these guys are going to suck. I could feel the emotion.
Yeah.
And it was straight dog shit.
Yeah. Well, let's go through a game breakdown of from our predictions. It's just kind of because we obviously watched all the games. And if there's one thing that is 100% true, that there's no dieting on game days. It's not a thing, because we're going to pig out after this too. But Ravens and Chiefs, the Thursday night game. I think you should hit on Isaiah Likely, in a couple minutes because you hit it right on the nail. And it isn't a testimony to say that Mark Andrews is washed or anything. It was just, no, this is a long-term investment, and you're going to go into it with, your fantasy football takes about how you draft the team. I think it correlates with Isaiah Likely, but going into that game, my up close analysis was that Lamar Jackson just didn't really have the greatest protection that he's had in the past. And that affected a lot of what Derrick Henry's production was supposed to be. It affected the passing game. Zay Flowers was a 6 reception type guy for like 40 yards, just very short ranged activity. But, in terms of the Chiefs, watching them go out there and with a more high caliber offense. And there's one name that it just kind of shot out of a cannon as soon as he got the ball. And you can probably guess it if you're listening, is Xavier Worthy. I mean, once he got, I was joking with my brothers about this, is that once he got the ball, my eyes were like, half shut, just kind of was drinking a little bit, whatever. And then they just got wider and wider and wider as he was, sprinting up the field. It's like, golly, this dude is a freaking shot out of a cannon. And I think that's going to be a super valuable weapon for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it kind of hid Kelsey a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of my overall analysis. I thought the Ravens struggled on offense due to their offensive line, and the Chiefs look very, very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens, they lost last second. Likely was out by a toe. He had a KD feet on the line. Did not count. Isaiah Likely with a huge game. He's going to be a very, very good tight end player for the fantasy leagues. If you had the opportunity, I would go pick him up. He's going to be the #1 waiver wire all week. So if you can get ahead of it, if you're in free agent based money waivers, I suggest putting a lot of money down. I'm not saying half, the whole thing. I picked him up at 3 p.m. on Thursday, 4 hours before the game, and I picked him up in every single league that I had him because I was like, I was like, he's gonna be the #1 tight end on that team. I saw the post where they didn't have Mark Andrews, and Likely, I love Marky Mark, but Likely he just has a little bit more kind of swagger to his team. And kind of, he's not like a security blanket. He's more of like, because that's what Mark Andrews was. He's always Mr. Reliable. Likely's going to give you. He looks like a wide receiver. He plays the tight end position, and he's going to completely change your fantasy team. Likely waiver wire getting you 10+ points a week. It's hard to kind of beat that. So if you have the opportunity, you're looking for a tight end, go draft or go pick up Isaiah Likely.
Yeah. And we're just, every time he caught the ball, you just had the side eye look every time. You're like, and I'm okay. Yeah. Like he hit on this one, and we'll get into it towards the end after the game day break or the game breakdowns or whatever with the stardom sit-ems. And you can talk about, your Travis Kelce reasoning, hitting on that sit-em. I don't know if you've gone through and seen your stardom sit-ems, if you've seen how you fared throughout the day. There might be some left over for Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, but we'll get to it. All right, yeah, Packers versus Eagles in Brazil. My quick game analysis of this is, I predicted the Packers to win, and honestly, they should have in a lot of occasions, and hopefully. Or we're going to give an injury breakdown of Jordan Love's injury with the Stats and Scars episode with the medical guy. We'll have the injury and video analysis there. So hopefully he's okay. But I know it's like 3 to 6 weeks, which is pretty brutal for the Packers, who are looking to get a really fast start. But I want to talk about the Eagles primarily because the Packers are kind of who I thought they were. I still think they're a very young, very talented team. And they play really well together. There's a lot of camaraderie within that wide receiver room. Josh Jacobs looks pretty decent. They were low on their backup running backs, which I think will help when they get him back. The big question mark with Malik Willis moving forward. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. That's going to be atrocious to watch. But in terms of the Eagles, Kellen Moore is coordinating exactly how I thought that he would coordinate on the Eagles. And I kind of let you talk about Saquon Barkley because I'm sure you probably want to in terms of in terms of fantasy because the dude just absolutely exploded with touchdowns in that game. But Jalen Hurts kind of reminds me what I wanted to talk about was Jalen Hurts reminds me of Dak Prescott in 2022 when he had the last 2 years of Jalen Hurts is what I'm talking about of just like every single game you have this one really wacky throw, sometimes two, and you're just like, what in the world was that? But then the rest of the game, you play outstanding, and they're just going to look at the interception in the year and go, "Oh, this dude's booty cheeks. All this dude does is throw interceptions." I think he's playing. I think Jalen Hurts is playing well, but lately he's just been on this trend of I'm going to throw this really crappy ball and have a pick or two every game. It just so that's going to be a concern for me going forward with the Eagles.
Oh yeah, the biggest concern is going to be Jordan Love out 3 to 6 weeks with the MCL sprain. The Packers, they have Malik Willis who's going to step in, and you have to replace him. That brings a lot of value down to all the Packers players. Kind of a quick recap of the game. It was a very sloppy game. The field conditions were god awful. There was really no rhythm in it. You know, Packers really couldn't score in the red zone. Jalen Hurts is struggling a little bit, but Saquon Barkley was good as advertised. Everyone's been waiting to see him in that green jersey. He goes out and he lights it up. You know, what a player he was for the Eagles. I think he's going to be spectacular for them. He has that Philly mindset. You know, he's still in the NFC East, and he scored 3 touchdowns, hat trick. Hasn't been done since 2004 with T.O. when on his opening day. So Saquon is good as advertiser for his type of caliber. You know, if you're paying someone that electric $12 million, there's no question. So I could see Saquon. There's good opportunities where he could be offensive player of the year.
Yeah,
we'll see if he can stick to it. But if McCaffrey couldn't, then he probably could. But he's going to be probably the best offensive player moving forward.
Yeah, and I thought it was those 2 games were fun to watch. And the field conditions, unfortunately, I think shred a couple of really good, like big time plays that could have happened in that game, which sucked. But in terms, I'm just glad nobody's dead. Playing in Brazil, that country, outside of the looking glass of the NFL, the Brazil as a country has gone to absolute crap. I mean, it's like overrun. So that'll be interesting to see if that game ever comes back to that location. I know the freaking NFL is trying to expand like the damn empire from Star Wars. But yeah, those 2 games were great games to watch. And then, moving on to our last 2 was before we get into the predictions for tonight's game was we didn't get to watch this one, but Miami beat Jacksonville on a last minute field goal, 20-17, kind of a sloppier game a little bit. Honestly, could have gone either way. I think Jacksonville should have won, but you predicted Jacksonville to win. I predicted Miami for our different reasons. But Jalen Waddle, the 2 things that were the two things to bring outside of the game and talk about were Tyreek Hill, getting detained before the game, and then Jalen Waddle getting, what is it called? He was like ruled out. Sorry, yeah, I was thinking cleared out. He was ruled out for the game and then brought back in. It's just like a very strange day for Miami sports in terms of their receivers. But Miami gets the dub, and I think Jacksonville is going to be a good team, though. I think they're a 9 to 10 win team this year again. But yeah, Miami's going to be tough to beat in the hotter months.
Yeah, Miami is definitely a September, October team. There were Tua. He missed Tyreek Hill earlier in the game. Then it looks like he started to get his feet under him. He hit Waddle. Then Waddle goes out, ruled out. Everyone's pissed, and he's back in. I've honestly have never seen that. And I've also never seen a football player get detained, an hour before the game. And it was just kind of a weird opening Sunday of football, but that's why we love football, and it's back. Tyreek Hill with an 80-yard touchdown after ETN fumbled the ball at the one touchback for the Dolphins. My apologies. So, it was one of those things where Jacksonville, they had their new rookie wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., also scored a touchdown.
Yep.
ETN would have been good if he scored that touchdown because he scored one earlier in the game. And Tyreek Hill, everyone knows what Tyreek Hill brings to the table each year, fantasy and on the football field. So 80-yard touchdown from Tyreek Hill. If he gets one every single week, it wouldn't surprise me. That's just Tyreek Hill, and that's what he does. So there's a lot of things. Week 1 is the hardest week to kind of predict things, and I must say you don't know because you haven't seen real football since February, so it's a little bit harder. But I enjoy it and I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and as we're watching on the big screen here, we got Caleb Williams getting his first ever career win. That the defense, which he's probably not used to being from USC in Oklahoma, the defense getting him a win. And shout out to the Bears defense, which was very underrated last year. But oh god, that was terrible, Will Levis. Good night. Okay, yeah, but anyway, he got very, very, very fortunate with the defensive play today. Will Levis struggled in the air, and so shout out to Caleb Williams for first ever win. And a lot of rookies got their playing time today. A couple of ones that we suspected were going to be big time talents got in the end zone, like you mentioned. And then the last game, the Cowboys and the Browns, and this was just out the gate before the game. We were thinking that the Cowboys, you normally struggle. We both picked Cleveland to win, but the Dallas normally struggles week 1, and they come out and some predictions. Honestly, Jacob and Ryan were. The medical guy and the analysts were way better at the NFL predictions than you and I were. And I think we just we missed on the fact that Dallas coming up. We didn't know the tackle news from the Browns. If I would have known that, I would have been like, oh, Micah Parsons is getting after it. And shit, Zeke, dude, coming into this game, first play from scrimmage.
Yeah, hurdling someone. Zeke looked fresh. He looked slim. It's a wait, hold up.
What is it?
The Detroit Lions, and I think
it's about to come up. Sorry. The Sunday night football. Carrie Underwood.
Oh, it is.
It's coming up. That's why. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, yeah. We're getting to the end here. So
yeah, but the Cowboys dominating on defense. Dallas's offense also they looked good in the first half. They're actually really serious about the rotating running backs. Running back committee.
Yeah.
Dak had that one good drive. He didn't really have to do much. Did the whole offense. CeeDee Lamb had a couple good catches. Hopefully Jake Ferguson is, not too bad. The med guy will speak on that. He's going to be doing that. He's saying maybe bone bruise, maybe this. He knows a lot more in depth of that. And, we're going to make sure that we'll get you guys that news. And also the Cowboys, looking forward, it was not too bad.
Yeah, defense dominated for the Cowboys. They look better than they were last year, and hopefully they get off to a good start. This is a really good road win for the Dallas Cowboys, and I did not expect it to happen. So, all right, well, let's break down the stardom sit-em recap, and I'll do kind of my breakdown of my college football picks and an outlook for next week before Carrie Underwood gets underway here and kicks us off for Sunday Night Football. And then once those two things are completed, we'll do a really quick prediction of tonight's game, which you kind of already did before, but
yeah, they already heard our prediction. I got the Rams. You have the
I had the Rams as well. I think we both are taking, which are probably both going to be wrong. So go with the Lions tonight money line.
yeah. Whatever we say, go to the complete opposite. But with the stardom sit-em, so you got to take the highs with the lows, right? So I'm gonna do my L's first. Joe Burrow, that was it looked good on paper. I also didn't know he was. I didn't know he was going to be losing his 2 starting wide receivers. Well, I guess he had one that was on a snap count. T. Higgins out. I do this way before.
Yeah, early in the week.
Yeah, but if you listen to me, I started him, so I had to take the L2. Dalton Kincaid got no targets. I don't know what was up with that. Obviously they're not really going towards the tight end route. The Chris Olave, you guys saw that game.
That was atrocious.
It was over by
Can't predict that.
It's 28-0, and they don't have to throw the ball anymore. And then let's see. And then also with the sit-em, James Conner, he ended up with 16. He had a good game. But tonight I have David Montgomery and the Lions with the sit-em.
Okay.
But for the most part, Dak didn't have to do much, so sit him. CD Lamb put up 13. Depending on what you view CD to get, 13 points is that, especially if you're highly relying on him. Not too bad. Devontae Adams had 10 points. Travis Kelce, you guys saw him. He had 6. And then DeAndre Swift had at one point he had 8 carries for 6 yards. That was the correct ones on the sit-em. Aaron Jones had a good game, 90 yards on 10 carries.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors, he got you 12 points. He didn't find the end zone. And then James Cook also having a good day too. So, I'm gonna keep getting better. And if you guys have any questions, it's more of an in-depth, but I could talk all day about this. I can keep going.
Yeah.
And then, next week, I'll try to figure out something. Maybe I need to put a clipboard or something, look like a coach. And then I can kind of break it down and then give you that. So if you listen to me, I appreciate it. It means a lot, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you to start or sit someone and not listen to myself. So I started Joe Burrow. I fucked myself. That's okay. I'm going to get smacked anyway. But, every time, all these people I tell you about, I follow my own things, and I don't want you to think I'm trying to screw you.
Yeah. And I thought it was, like you said earlier, the week 1 is extremely unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen. And case number 1 would be the Saints and Panthers game. That was a completely atrocious game by Carolina, and it just disrupted total fantasy production outside of Alvin Kamara. I don't know, what is this? Okay, we got a little bit of time. I'm gonna wrap up with the college football recap. Texas beat the hell out of Michigan, and Iowa State upset. Gives a fuck. Sunday Night Football coming on tonight. Carry Underwood's on. We will see you guys next Sunday, which was a very quick episode recap. We'll see y'all later.